LAPD to increase patrols after Hamas urges global day of jihad on Friday the 13th. Jeez, talk about just like, wow. Friday the 13th? Come on.
What a perfect alignment. And I'm flying tomorrow.
We have
on
this
a flight you guys booked.
That's right.
Thanks.
We have this from the Philly Police Department. Public safety alert. PPD response to conflict in Israel and Gaza. In response to the ongoing conflict, the Philadelphia Police Department is taking proactive measures to ensure the safety and security of our communities. We have increased patrol and patrols around religious institutions, and all available officers have been placed in uniform and deployed strategically around the city to offer reassurance. Visibility is a key element of our approach, blah, blah, blah. You get the point. And then, of course, we have the softening of the issue. This one, I'm sorry, this one really pissed me off. This pissed me off a lot. New York Post writes, NYPD orders all cops to report in uniform after ex-Hamas chief calls for global protests.
And they're going to be
Is that what they call it?
He called
now?
for jihad, isn't that right?
He said jihad.
Yeah, jihad is there's a violent force involved in jihad. To be honest, I don't want to
force.
speak.
It refers to struggle. Jihad means struggle.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Telling-
maybe he's not calling for violence. then.
Following,
He is.
Yes, he is.
He is, for
Following the terror attacks that we just saw in Israel, him coming out and saying, because Israel is bombing Gaza, there should be global jihad. Yo, he's not saying to wave little flags.
And they were already the other day softening the language from terrorist on like what, right? So that's already
What was
been
that?
happening.
What was that?
MSNBC, right?
Well, MSNBC, right. But it's not just MSNBC. There was a leaked email. It was the Telegram or something like that. I don't know. I don't want to besmirch a newspaper, but so I'm not sure. But there were like leaked messages. Some newspaper was like, don't call them terrorists, call them gunmen.
Oh my God. I mean, that's the same here, right? It's like we've seen incidents of our quote unquote protests that are actually just domestic terrorism. And one of the ways they actually get it through is by softening that definition, and they stick to it. So it's terrifying, you know?
Makes me think of when we had when Obama was in office, when there was military age men. Remember that? Instead, like when they were using the term military age men, which just means like adults.
I was so young. I don't
They've been
remember
saying that a lot
but
about
I
the
believe
people that are immigrating, you know, illegal immigrants.
The
Well, they were
Summer of
saying it
Love.
around like
Y'all remember that?
people dying overseas, and they're saying the men that died were military age men. That doesn't mean that they were actually, like
a 42-year-old farmer,
Exactly.
or a 33-year-old teacher or something.
Right.
And we've had mostly peaceful protests now since 2020. So.
Exactly.
Did you see the protests in France? And we might even get to this. I don't know if you have the story queued up, but they were pro-Palestine, protests, riots. I don't know, it was protests. Then the government said, no, it's illegal. You can't do that. So now they're protesting that the government made the protests illegal, and then stuff's getting burned.
You know, it's funny because this country used to be completely unified in their support for Israel, Democrats and Republicans. And now the Democrats are in a serious hard place because, the young progressive Democrats hate Israel and are pro-Palestine.
Is the internet, the liberal economic order did not see the internet coming, or maybe they had an idea, but they did not. I don't think they understood the amount of understanding that would come from these clandestine things that they've been doing. Like the Balfour Declaration was not public knowledge till like 5 days ago. Now people know that the British set up
5 days ago.
Like all of a sudden now people start. It's like trending on Twitter. I see people talking about Balfour Declaration. This is like the British and French setting up Israel, the colony. The British mandate for Palestine after World War I, they seized it from the Arabs. They tricked the Arabs, and then they betrayed the Arabs and took it.
Well, let's not also forget, just to add to my fear of tomorrow, not that I want to manifest anything to happen. Obviously, I've been hearing about a red heifer.
Yeah.
They're fulfilling a prophecy tomorrow as well.
Not tomorrow.
Or it's been fulfilled and tomorrow's like the
Well,
day.
no. It's that on September 8th, there was reports that like the red heifer was born or something. And so people are trying to bring about the Messianic era or whatever. But that's in line with, there's also been a conspiracy theory. I think Alex Jones has talked about this, I think this was Alex Jones. There are people who are trying to make prophecy happen, revelation. So instead of looking at it like these things will happen, they're looking at it like we must make these things happen.
Which is playing God, even if you believe in the prophecies. And that's
So the people have been talking about this. There's concern that, in September, there was a story about the red heifer or whatever, and I looked it up, and it's from forward.com. I mean, this is I think .com. It's like a Jewish publication talking about what it could mean, and if it is a pure red heifer, it means they can like purify the ground or whatever. So the fears is that tomorrow something bad happens, and then Israel people will tear down the Al-Aqsa Mosque in Jerusalem or something like that. I don't know enough about it. All I know is there's like a whole lot of weird, like crazy religious stuff going on.
Yeah.
And tomorrow, which is Friday the 13th, and there's an eclipse on Saturday too, right? Yeah, the Ring of Fire eclipse is Saturday. Is that true?
It passes through North America.
Yep.
And of course, it's the Ring of Fire, not a normal eclipse. Ring of Fire. Okay, great.
Yeah, I think the red heifer is something that someone figured out in like 1989. From when I read about this, so everyone can kind of, we've been talking about it a lot. We haven't actually figured the whole story out. Red heifer has to do with something that someone read into the Bible. They saw this stuff that mentioned red heifer. This was like Moses era. So this is a while ago. This is when within Judaism. I don't know how much it has to do with the apocalypse now. I don't know what else it means, but a lot of reading. I'm gonna go
It's
do.
just all
So
weird.
so tomorrow is the global day of jihad on Friday the 13th, and Saturday is the Ring of Fire eclipse.
I should not have smiled in that thumbnail. I looked crazy. I mean,
I
the
am
title, and then
I'm going to spend the day in the emergency bunker playing Baldur's Gate 3 and just lock the door and turn the lights off.
that's smart.
Wait it out.
I thought it was weird
wait it out.
that September 11th happened on 9/11.
Yeah, I've always thought about that actually.
But
But-
why though?
I don't. It was because
Well,
it's
it's
like the
just
emergency
eerie.
number.
What if it happened on like 3/14? People would be like, "Whoa, pi." You know what I mean? Like,
Oh,
people-
yeah,
what was
but,
it? The
but it was like
movie, the number
911
23.
emergency.
right. People always like, yeah, the numerology stuff.
Yeah.
People look for numbers. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
you're going to see a whole lot of things that have the number 17 or whatever.
It's like numerical pareidolia.
it
You
was-
just read into it what you want.
It was very convenient that I kept getting flashed 911 in front of my face over and over and over again on the news. I don't know if that was a coincidence or not.
There's something to that, actually, I guess. I mean, that's some kind of that programming, like, be afraid, emergency, as if it wasn't clear enough, but I get that. But to bring it back to what Tim was saying really quick about how, you know, people are, like, younger college students now are sort of super pro-Palestine, and then people are kind of realizing how demented that is. It's like it brings it to Black Lives Matter yesterday, or was it the day before with the parachute imagery that they did.
Yep.
You know, that's so sick because there's not even any gray area with that. It's not as if you want to make some sort of nuanced argument that it's even really about Palestine. Now it's just directly about Hamas and directly about the murder that occurred, the murders and the rapes.
And they doubled
the-
down.
Yeah, yeah.
They
which-
came out and they were like, we weren't proud of that, but we stand by the people who will do anything necessary. It's like,
Right. But, you know,
Okay, dude.
terrorists link up with terrorists. They stick together, birds of a terrorist feather, because that's, if you're clued into the actions of Black Lives Matter for the past few years, especially, if you're not just now associating the word terrorist or domestic terrorism with Black Lives Matter. You've known that all along. But now it's interesting to see people, it takes something happening a sea away for them to sort of question
That's
those
crazy.
actions. Yeah, where it's like, okay, well, you also could have, not to compare obviously Hamas and even the most egregious Black Lives Matter actions, two different worlds, but, you know, you also could have noticed that when Chicago was burning, San Francisco was burning.
Minneapolis.
You know, right, pick a city, you know, so it just takes, it's interesting, it takes something somewhere else for people to be like, oh, maybe those are the bad guys.
Think about all the Fortune 500 companies that really, really latched on to that now too.
Yep.
Do they walk that back? Like the NFL, does the NFL still put Black Lives Matter at the end zone? I don't know, but they would have something to answer for
Right.
if
Well,
that
now-
is in fact true.
now every conservative can just, as soon as they see that message from any corporation, call them and be like, why are you supporting Hamas?
Just pull up that parachute
Yep.
image. Yeah, I was on a podcast recently and it was a liberal podcast and they asked me about, they're trying to address all my controversy. One of them was that I'm anti-Black Lives Matter. And they act like it was going to be a big gotcha. And I'm like, is it really that weird? Because it's very similar to PETA. It's like they have that platitude name, Black Lives Matter. Who would disagree with that? People for the ethical treatment of animals. Who wouldn't want to treat animals ethically? You have to look at the actions. It's not just a name. You have to look deeper.
Well, when
So-
you're in a cult, you don't.
Right, right. And when you're, you know, easily influenced and bullied into believing things and just have a default response. But again, the fact that it takes something happening a sea away, it's like they had our country on fire too, you know?
It's interesting that NYPD is ordering all. I love how they phrase this, though. Look at this story. They order all cops to report in uniform after a call for protests. Yo, are you kidding me with this?
I would have
They're
cops,
not mobilizing every cop over protests. This is despicable.
I hope they have cops in plain clothes with sniper rifles like in windows and stuff. Like
New
they
York
don't put them all
does.
on the street and like just have them in plain sight. They become targets. You got to have them hidden and ready.
Yeah, NYPD's crazy. I think they have like expeditionary forces. I
You
think the
know what?
NYPD has intelligence that leaves the city.
And isn't it the only like police department in America that has like their own terrorist unit, like anti-terrorism unit?
I don't know.
I believe.
Maybe.
Like they have their own counterterrorism unit.
I think the thing
Oh, yeah,
that
that-
makes it like particularly in like disturbing in a familiar way is it's that buildup of energy where I remember like right before COVID really hit the fan and the world changed, there was kind of a buildup of energy right before where it's like, hey, you're hearing things about something in China, but couldn't happen. And then it did. And the world shut down.
Taiwan.
It feels kind of like that. And again, not to manifest anything or will it into
Well,
existence.
knock on wood. Thanks for watching this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. Hang out with us live Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. and become a member over at timcast.com for uncensored, members-only shows exclusive. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.